Welcome to the Car Guys, and this week the big question is, should I have bought this Alpine A110 rather than this Lotus Elise 240 Final Edition? So Jason, what's your thoughts?
Yes.
Okay, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, leave likes. See you later. Bye. No, we've got to do longer than that. YouTube says we've got to do at least 10 minutes. We thought this week would be good to do a comparison between these two cars, focusing primarily on the Alpine, which we've got here to fully review. So they're both two-door, two-seat sports cars. They both have got very similar performance. They're both similarly priced. And of course, both of them have recently been cancelled.
However, I'm going to prove to him that his money was wasted in this site.
So this week we're going to take these two cars and we're going to compare the performance, the driving style, the looks. We're going to do walkarounds. We're going to do the whole 9 yards.
Let's go. So this is the run-out edition of the beautiful A110 Alpine. Here we have it presented in a beautiful Mercury matte silver, which is part of the limited edition. So this car is one of 300 that are going to be made worldwide. This car's number 52, and we've got some extra special things on it, like these beautiful diamond alloys with the gold calipers.
All about the gold calipers.
All about the gold calipers. We have gold badging, obviously the matte silver, clear rear tail lights as well. But ultimately, we've been wanting to drive one of these things for literally ever. How many years now has it been?
4 years.
4 years. It is a classic look. The front end is exactly the same as the original Alpine, that rally car. It's amazing. When you see it in the rear of someone else's vehicle when you follow them, and you think, absolutely, this is absolutely spot on. There is quite a lot of touches of the old tricolor on the car. Have you noticed that? Always wanting to make sure that everyone knows that it's very French.
Yeah, the Frenchies do love a good tricolor, don't they?
They absolutely do. It's quite a compact little car. It's not huge, although bigger than the Lotus, I've noticed. I thought it was actually a very similar size, but that Elise is tiny, isn't it?
Yeah, this definitely dwarfs the
Lotus.
Lotus.
Yeah. One of the great features about the Alpine is the lack of massive rear spoilers. It's very clean back end, and I absolutely love this single exit exhaust.
And now it comes down to the Lotus. Let me take you around this car. Now, if you've already seen my video about the collection, then you'll know all about it. Obviously, overall, it is the iconic Lotus Elise shape. It's been crafted throughout history, it's been refined, they've changed the headlights, put lots of little sculpted bits and wing, changed the shape of that. But essentially, it's been the same car for 25 years. Now, as you can see, I've still got the hardtop affixed, partly because it is bucketing down today, but also I haven't yet had the courage to take it off. Now, this is painted in Lotus Racing Green, and you probably already know my thoughts on that. It has got anthracite wheels, it's got touches of yellow inside the car, no yellow on the outside except for the words Sport on the side. Overall, I've kept it fairly simple. At the moment, you'll notice it's still got the Colin Chapman signatures on them, but because they are so hideous, they're going straight after this video. Now, you may have noticed that the Lotus's wheels are smaller than the Alpines, but not by as much as you think. The Alpine has got 18s and the Lotus has 17s on the back and 16s on the front. Now, I have to say, in terms of the looks, comparing the two, I think the Alpine wins. As classic and historic and lithe and just ickle the Lotus is, when this thing pulled up, it just blew it away. My mouth was on the floor. I was like, So I think overall exterior looks wise, I think the Alpine definitely has it.
Quite a large difference between the interior of the Alpine compared to the Lotus. This is the GT with the S engine in it, so the seats are super comfy. You can drive this for a very long period of time. I really like the way it looks in here. It's quite minimalist. There is one big problem, which is this audio control on the right hand side, which literally looks like Lego bricks. We've got standard tablet in the middle. There is so much functionality on that, it's ridiculous. We'll show you some of that as we go along. Carbon fiber with lovely gold inside the carbon fiber, which is nice. But other than that, perfect flat bottom steering wheel, which obviously is rubbish, but the rack on this is so quick that doesn't really cause a problem.
Well, the Lotus is a lot more sparse, as you would probably imagine. Very simple steering wheel, 3-spoke, nothing on it whatsoever, unlike the Alpine, which is of course festooned with nonsensy spongy buttons. Very simple design, exposed gear stick, traditional handbrake. You do have a starter button on this car, but it's over here. The Lotus one is a nasty black button located on a panel, which unfortunately detaches itself from the dashboard quite regularly. As befitting its lightweight status though, everything in this car is a lot more simple than the Alpine. This one's got touches of carbon fibre, which is nice. It does add a splash of luxury, but the seats are nowhere near as comfortable or luxurious. The dashboard area is very simply trimmed and purely functional, and of course it has the worst positioning of a USB cable of any car that I've encountered. There is no human that could possibly fit its hands in the gap that Lotus has provided. And let's not forget that you also have quite the most hideous stereo in this car. But overall, the Alpine is far more luxurious, but therefore also weighs more. This is the more stripped out racing experience, which marries perfectly with that stripped out racing driving experience.
So, as this is the first time that we're getting to review the Alpine for you, we thought we'd go through what the history of this car is and why it's so special.
Alpine was formed in 1955 by Jean Radelet, whose love of the Alps led to the naming of his new car company. Alpine's real success came with the A110, which arrived in 1962, but began to dominate rallying in the 70s, especially with its larger engined 1800cc variant. In 1971, Alpine took first, second and fourth in the Monte Carlo Rally, but it was the outright winning of the newly named World Rally Championship in 1973 that made the Alpine A110 a truly legendary machine. After World Rally success, Alpine set its sights on Le Mans, which it won in 1978 with the A442B, a turbocharged monster, and this is it. But it was 1991's modern version of the Alpine, the A610, that many of us remember, though few have ever seen, mainly because there were only 818 ever made. After the failure of the A610, the Alpine name disappeared. That was until 2017's stunning new modern lightweight paddle shift beauty seen here arrived back in showrooms, a brand new A110. Despite exhibiting almost class-leading handling and with a competitive £50,000 price tag, even this new Alpine sadly didn't sell well, and in 2021 Alpine announced that it was stopping the A110 in its current form in favour of a new electric car. So there we are, we've looked at the cars in depth, we explained the differences between the two. Now of course the all-important driving part.
Which one are we going to take first?
I think the Alpine. So here we are, it's been, well, it's 2017 that they launched this car.
Yep.
We haven't driven it before ever. You've brought it down here, so you've got a bit more experience. So I reckon you take us off and tell us what you think of the car. You've got a lovely start-stop button in this one, unlike the Lotus. This is very Ferrari, this sort of triple button here.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought when I first saw it. This little cubby hole here is actually for the key to sit in.
Is it? Not for a phone?
Well,
phone could sit in there.
Phone could sit in there. There is a 25p sport button here, which actually looks like a little Smartie, which we'll get to in a bit.
Quite a lot of controls you've got here.
There are.
Binnacle's all digital by the look of it.
Yep, and that changes dependent on what mode you're in.
Always nice.
Which is quite cool.
I love this slab of carbon fibre on the top.
Good, isn't it?
Cowling, that's good.
With the A for Alpine in the top.
Nice.
This detail.
Clever, clever
details. Paddles that don't move with the steering wheel.
This is paddle shift only, and you couldn't get a manual car.
No. And this is a DSC gearbox.
It's quite harsh.
Yes. It's quite bumpy.
Are we in a harsh mode, or is this...
No, this is comfort.
Okay, good. Good or bad?
Good, good. So let's have a little look at this
What
thing
is
in
this?
the middle.
Ah, so I was going to say, what's the point of having the horrible tablet? This appears to be some sort of digitalis diagnostic-y magic.
Yeah, so if you look across the top of here, you'll see multiple blue squares.
Oh man, that's a lot, isn't it?
All of them have a display screen of their very own.
That's 10. That's 10 squares up
That's
there,
10.
which means 10 double screens.
There's also a tree in the road.
Well, that will be the lorry that just passed us has knocked that down for us. Thank you,
very
lorry.
kind.
Is this a swipe screen?
Oh, right.
thing
So
we've got
push.
here?
So push
it's the arrows.
Push the arrows.
Oh, look how small the arrows are, though.
I know.
Why do they have to make? You're bound to
And
be
you bounce
bouncing
in.
when you do it.
Yeah.
Why do you make them so
Right,
small?
go.
Some temperatures and torque and
power, turbo pressure, oil, intake temperature, throttle position.
Now you know what my slight problem with this is.
It's all a load of old bollocks.
That, but also it looks very much. It's got the colour scheme and clarity of a sort of BBC micro spreadsheet package.
Yes, it does.
It's not particularly sort of sexy sci-fi. It's a bit. Oh yeah, look at that. That's like biorhythms on the BBC. I mean, it's interesting, but do you ever really need
see, this
to
is
look at the inside of the gearbox?
This could not be more pointless, this screen. It's showing you the twin clutch transmission, what temperature the clutches are at, and what the pre-selected gear is. This, though, lap timer.
But it's a lap timer where, again, they couldn't help but put the writing in blue, white and red.
Oh, you noticed?
I mean, why? Oh.
So it's not sound.
I mean, there's a lot more noise than actual shove.
Yeah.
That's kind of noticeable.
Yeah. It's quick enough. Push the sport button once.
Yep.
See that all goes.
Oh,
You can
yeah.
feel it, right?
Space age.
So now we will hold the sport button.
Yeah.
That gives us track mode.
Wow. Oh, hello.
It's a bit growly.
Got some growl
Got some
action
growly
going on
action.
here.
So we're in manual. So the blue, we now have a blue round the D
Yep.
for drive, which denotes that we are in the manual mode. And as you can see,
Now-
you like them onions?
Now that is quite a nice noise, actually. So that's proper outside noise. Now,
Track mode.
a little bit of poo came out there.
Track mode doesn't have any DSC.
Yes, but did it have some form of control? Like, was that all pure skill, or was the car helping you there? Because it was very impressive.
That was pure me just catching it.
Was it?
Yeah.
Because that was an enormous slide.
Which is why you shouldn't run track mode
Right,
on the road.
in the UK.
So
you caught that manually, that wasn't the car helping?
No, I definitely caught
In
that.
that case, that was very impressive.
Thank you.
Now I need some new pants.
Ignore track mode because, frankly, in these conditions, as we just demonstrated there,
Yes.
it's f***ing lethal.
Yes.
Even with, and these are Michelin 4S's as well. So these aren't none of your Avon ditch finders on this car. None of your Hancock Hong Kong Fuis. Interestingly, because this is the S model and it has a little bit more horsepower, it's not too dissimilar to the Yaris. So this runs about 1136 kilos.
Okay.
The Yaris runs 1245, so we've got 100 kilos less, and it's running 296 brake horsepower, and the Yaris is running a conservative 276. So it's actually not that different.
I mean, obviously, this is a lot more luxurious feeling. It's obviously a lot better ride. You know, primary, secondary, tertiary, whichever you fancy ride is definitely streets ahead of the Lotus. Handling wise, obviously, not so much. The stats may be similar, but in terms of the experience, I guess the more natural comparison for this must surely be the Porsche Cayman.
Yes, and I actually think this is better. So this is 20 grand less than an equivalent Cayman.
You're going to get so much shit for that.
But the thing that ruins the Cayman and the equivalent Boxster is that ridiculous engine.
But this is a 1.8 turbo.
Yeah.
So
And
how is this able to be so much nicer than the 718 turbo 4-pot.
I literally could not tell you. I'm shocked that it's so much nicer.
So why didn't these sell?
Well, there was that issue right at the beginning, wasn't there?
What, the slight fire issue?
It got overly warm in the rear.
And that was on primetime television.
Yeah.
Could it be that much though? Because I mean, remember the Ferrari 458s burnt when they first came out.
Well, that's true, but they're Ferraris. It's kind of almost people expected it.
Badge snobbery, who the hell are Alpine?
Yeah.
Always go with Porsche, that's your safe bet. Even though it's loads more money, it'll be more reliable, it's a more sure thing, and probably the residuals are a lot better.
Yep.
That's basically it.
All of those.
But if you were going to take away the badge snobbery, this is actually the better car?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
I think it handles and rides as well as the Porsche. It would probably cost you less to service it.
It's prettier than a Cayman though, isn't it?
It's prettier than a Cayman. It's rarer than a Cayman.
Yeah. There we go. Right. My first drive in an Alpine, what I almost bought in 2017. Nice metal paddles though. Good. Feel good to the touch. Reassuring. That's a very distracting rev counter in full numbers display that it's got there. That's very odd, isn't it?
Very weird, isn't it?
Yeah, because you're not used to seeing that.
The whole plethora of numbers. No.
Yeah, you're doing 3,100 revs.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. So on the upshift, it's a little bit lazy,
Bit lazy.
bit slow. Oh, but down is pretty quick. Does it speed up dramatically in?
In track, so hold your finger on.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it is noticeably
So it's
quicker. isn't it?
noticeably quicker.
Yeah, but you lose a lot of traction control stuff.
You lose traction control.
Yeah.
I think there's not stuff in that sentence.
It's
just,
gone.
It's gone.
It's entirely gone. This is a different league. The Lotus is so much more direct and sort of more primitive feeling, really. And this is very nice, actually. And brake-wise, I mean, pretty damn good.
They're not bad.
I mean, not only do they look super cool being gold,
I mean, who doesn't want gold calipers?
but they do stop you as well.
Yeah. And still not carbon silliness.
Are they? Oh, okay, it's probably why there's so much feel in the pedal then. I mean, I have to say, I think package-wise there are similarities, but driving-wise, this is a world away from the Lotus. They're just different gravy. The Lotus is so much more stripped out and low and raw and direct, and this you can feel there's quite a layer of insulation in the steering. You know, it is light. There's a lot of gubbins between you and the steering wheel, whereas in the Lotus, I think
just a steel bar.
yeah, you're basically moving the wheels with your hand.
One of the negatives of this is the electric steering is lovely and light. There's not a whole lot of feedback.
I'm not sure if I would trade one of these for my little peppy Lotus. As
Really?
primitive as it is, it
Primitive?
is...
That car's like the Flintstones. I suppose there's not a hole in the floor to put your feet through it.
Well, I wouldn't discount that. given the way some of the panels have fallen off, I wouldn't discount that. But it does have bags of character, and it is unlike anything else apart from maybe a Caterham.
You could easily drive this many, many miles and get out the other end and not be concerned with, you know, how many vertebrae you had left or had fused together. Or,
Yeah.
Whereas the Lotus is not. If you were going to Scotland, you wouldn't go, oh, I think I'll go in the Elise.
No.
Would you?
No.
But you could easily jump into this and drive to Scotland.
Yeah, that is true. And you note the way that we got into the car was by opening the door and stepping quite comfortably in.
Yeah.
Whereas you saw what it looked like when I got in and out of the Lotus.
Yeah. Yeah, it looked like you needed to break your back in two places in order to get the folds right.
So maybe what we've discovered here is that they are very different cars, despite the package being theoretically similar and the price and the performance. They are very, very different solutions to a similar problem. And I think you seem to like more comfort, more extras, more technology, whereas I'm kind of preferring something a bit more basic.
Right,
then
second gear.
let's have some beans.
Let's have beanage. There's quite a lot of traction control action going on there.
There was, but it is a similar experience to that GR Yaris, isn't it? Same sort of speed.
Yeah, same sort of power and
Yeah.
acceleration, yeah. You can feel it holding it back,
Yeah.
because the faster you go, the more torque that you seem to get, which tells me that A, the turbo's winding up, but also the traction control is,
Clamping down.
with 300 to 350 horsepower in a normal road car, on a normal road, you can physically put your foot flat to the floor.
Yeah.
Much more than that is when you start to go, oh crap, I don't want to do that.
Almost exactly in that voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
These buttons, incidentally, that change the drive modes and everything, that they feel quite like those ones you get on fruit machines.
They've got the same plastic on them.
It's like hold the bells, hold the
Hold
bells.
bells, hold 'em,
Puma!
hold 'em.
Right, so here we are in Lotus Eliseville, population 2, and square footage, not so much. It's a lot more sparse in here. There's not a lot of creature comforts. It's quite a different place to the Alpine.
Yeah.
There you go. It's a snug little environment. Now over here we've got the engine start button, just like your one.
Oh yes.
But much, much shitter.
Why didn't they just keep it as a key?
Well, they could have done, or metal. Metal. Why not just give us metal? This bit here,
Falls out. Oh.
as you can see, that's not the best.
I like the open gear linkage.
Yep.
It instantly sounds like a Lotus Elise.
Well, we feel a lot lower. The car is definitely far smaller. We're a lot more seat of the pants, I think, in this one. So we got a lot less frippery in here. Just the central binnacle with the digital display. Ride is a lot more fidgety, I would say.
It is, but I think the ride's better in this.
Really? A lot more noise in the cabin in this one.
Yeah.
And of course we do have the added fun of a manual change.
And of course no silliness like traction control or any of that nonsense.
No, it does. It does have
Does it?
traction control, yeah. You can turn it into sport, which I think takes a lot of that out. So if I hold down on this panel the sport button for a bit, you see the central thing here changes to a horizontal display. And I think there's a lot less traction control. I think also actually there's also an actual traction control button.
Oh, so you can just whip it all off?
Yeah, but Lotus advised me never to do that.
Ever?
No, they said it does change ends quite rapidly. This is a bit annoying.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
I mean, that is really annoying.
That is just ridiculous.
That actually came off on the first day when I went over a cattle grid. But in terms of experiences, you see, definitely a lot more insulation in the Alpine. It's a more grown-up car.
Yeah.
It's a more long-distance prospect. But the reason why I like this better is its rawness. You know, you're buying it for the rawness.
Yeah.
You're buying it because it's primitive, because you don't want all that extra stuff. You just want something that's got almost no technology in it whatsoever.
Because you could save another 50 kilos by taking all of this crap out and putting windy windows in.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, don't get me started on the windy windows.
Yeah.
I definitely would prefer windy
Why
windows.
have we got electric windows in the Lotus Elise?
It's just something that's going to break, isn't it?
It's nonsense. Oh, good Lord. See, here's another slight issue, isn't it? Look at the scuffing.
So this is it for the full comparison. In order to do Alpine versus Elise properly, we've got to have driven both cars. Now you can give us your raw, undiluted comparison.
This feels like a racing car.
Oh, there you go.
The gear stick is obviously quite close to your knees.
Yep.
The steering's in I think, probably a better position.
There you go. Look
There
at
is
this.
a lot
Compliment, compliment, compliment. Here we
Yeah,
go.
and look, I don't dislike the Elise. The lack of torque, I think, is a problem in both cars.
Bear in mind, we're only restricted at the moment to 4,000 revs in this, so I'm quite interested to see what it's like when you wringing out a bit.
You can get more out of it.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to hold the steering wheel too tightly because it's kind of finding its own path.
Yeah, exactly.
This is very much, you know, early Porsche is the same.
It knows where it wants to go.
Yeah, as long as you point it in the direction you want it to go in, how it gets there as it wiggles down the road.
You just got to trust it.
Yeah.
Hey man,
Hey,
just
man.
trust me, I know what I'm doing here.
It's cool, man. Yes, I like where the gear stick is. It does fall to hand very, very nicely.
Yeah.
That I like a lot.
I mean, that is 25 years of development right there.
Yeah. I just want a bit more shove. So I'm hoping that once the shackles are off,
Yeah.
that it has more shove.
I think it does, but I mean, not that much. I think this car is all about carrying speed through the corners, not just having grunt. I think you need to get like an Exige if you want the grunt, I think, or maybe the new Emira. For me, I've got lots of grunty cars, so I wanted something that was delicate.
It does feel quite small and claustrophobic. But as driving experiences go, yeah, it's right up there. Of course it is. So, which one would you have?
I'd have to say, I think it would be this. I think I would back the plucky Brit over the French fancy.
Oh,
Because as good as the Alpine is, it sort of feels like a lot of other cars, and this doesn't. This feels just like
yeah,
this.
I get that.
So there we are, we have driven both cars, and it all comes down to, Jason, what do you prefer? Full English or snails?
Oh, can I have croissants instead?
All right, full English or croissant?
I have to say, le croissant, obviously. Vive la France! Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, leave comments, ding that notification bell for when we have another film uploaded. Find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and the merch.
There'll be another Car Guys episode along next week.